Good day, my dear students. Today we are going to discuss another lesson. So we are now on lesson number 11. So as you can see, what we're going to discuss today is about transforming from general form of the quadratic function to the vertex form. Discussing introduction to quadratic function, we have already mentioned there that quadratic function has a general form and vertex form. So what we are going to do on this day's lesson is for us to transform that general form of the quadratic function to the vertex form, or also known as the standard form of the quadratic function. So alam natin that the general form of the quadratic function is in the form of y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, while the vertex form or the standard form of the quadratic function is in the form of y is equal to a times the quantity x minus h quantity squared plus k, where h and k stands for the vertex. So that's the reason why it's called as the vertex form. Now, ang focus lang ng discussion natin for today is for us to transform from general form, from this form of the quadratic function to this form of the quadratic function. So, in order for us to do that in a systematic manner, we are going to follow certain steps. Still, our steps for today will still hide it through an acronym or through a word na tatawagin natin this time is alak. Bakit nga ba alak? So last time it's Yossi, one of the vices na pwede mong ma-encounter in your life. Another vices that you can encounter is yung alak or taking liquor or drinking liquor. So, yan yung pwede rin natin na-encounter in our life. So, due to peer pressure or uh, out of curiosity, because you want to know kung ano nangyayari, you want to prove kung ano nangyayari kapag ang isang tao ay nakatake ng alak. So, the tendency is you are trying it. So, out of your curiosity or due to peer pressure, nakakatikim tayo ng alak. So, in our life, darating at darating sa buhay natin na dadaan yung point na you will be tempted on taking drinking liquor. Yan sinabi nga sa commercial, when you drink responsibly. Bakit ganun yung sinasabi sa commercial? When you drink responsibly, it's because sinasabi nga nila, pag nakainom ka ng alak, lalo na pag sobra, is that nawawala ka sa pag-iisip mo. Parang nawawala ka sa sarili mo that you don't know already what you are doing. So, yung mga bata na nakakita doon sa mga taong sasabihin natin na nalalasing, so they are thinking of what will happen if they are the ones who will do that. Siyempre, sabi nga, di ba, kung ano nakikita ng mga bata sa mga matatanda, ay pwede nilang magaya. So, ganun din yun. So, yung nakikita ng mga kabataan na nag-iinom, so possible na magaya nila yon. So, ang gagawin na, mag-iinom din sila for us to know kung ano nga ba epekto ng alak sa katawan na if they are doing the same thing na ginagawa ng mga nakikita nilang nagiinom. But still, kasabi nga natin nung last natin na it depends on your will. So since alam mo na nga that you are old enough to decide on what's right and wrong, kung ano yung masama sa hindi masama, so you already know what to do. So alam mo na masama din yung alak sa katawan ng tao, so that means if you have strong will, if you are a strong-willed person, so nothing can tell you to or force you to take drinking liquor, to take liquor. Kasi alam mo that that's also one of the vices that when started, mapapadalas na, tapos mag-end up na araw-araw na, then simula umaga, may mga ganun simula umaga pa lang, yung gabi nagiinom na. So may mga ganun tayo nakikita. So, as much as possible, so again, habang bata ka pa, so avoid it. So alam natin na isa yan sa mga possible na makasira sa buhay ng isang tao. Kasi pag ganyan, when you are drunk, the others are the attitude of the others when they are drunk is that yung nagwawala, naghahamon, 'di ba? Yung epekto, yung masamang epekto sa kanila nung pag-inom ng alak. The others are just after drinking and get drunk, uh, natutulog na lang. But still, dapat alam mo na masama pa rin sa kalusugan mo kapag nag-take ka ng alak, kasi possible na ano yan parang yung pagsisigarilyo, nakaka-addict din siya. So baka pag natikman mo, magustuhan mo, hanap-hanapin mo. And when that time comes, hindi mo na siya maalis sa system ng katawan mo. Hanap-hanapin na every day, hanap-hanapin na every hour. Meron bang ganun every hour? Every hour yung lasa ng alak para lang masatisfy yung pangangailangan ng katawan mo. So if you don't want to experience that, so sa start pa lang, dapat alam mo na since masama siya, so you are not going to take it. Diba? Katulad ng sinabi natin, diba? Hindi ka mapipilit ng kahit sino kung ayaw mo. Kasi ibig sabihin nun, kung ayaw mo, you are a person na may strong will, and you are a person na iniisip yung future. Na iniisip mo yung future. So ganun. Ganun yung possible na mangyari. So, as for me, is in just my own opinion, I don't believe that when you drink and get drunk, na hindi mo na alam yung ginagawa mo. Kasi ako mismo, out of curiosity, I proved it. So, I tasted it, then I get drunk. Then, I proved that even if you get drunk, you still know what you're doing. So they are just pretending that they don't know what they are doing, because maybe they want someone to take care of them. Yung ayaw nilang may gawin pang iba, gusto nila alagaan na lang sila. Parang ganoon. But I'm pretty sure na you still know what you're doing, even if you are drunk. So alam mo pa rin yun. Others are just pretending that they don't know it. Kasi, for example, meron naman mga iba na when they take drinking liquor, nagpa-pass out sila because yung katawan nila is hindi sanay dun sa bagong na-take nila sa buhay nila. So, ang nangyayari is madaling malasing tapos nahihimatay kasi nga yung system ng katawan nila may bagong pumasok. So, ganun din yun. So, ibig sabihin, hindi ka ma-force ng mga kaibigan mo na mag-inom kung hindi mo gusto. So, nasa sarili mong desisyon yun. So, but still, my stand is, so habang bata ka, don't try to take drinking liquor. Kasi alam mo, since you are already old enough, alam mo kung ano yung tama at mali, alam mo rin yung makakasama sa'yo at yung hindi makakasama sa'yo. And again, if you want to have a better life in the future, na iwas sa mga sakit, so umpisa pa lang, ngayon pa lang, umpisahan mo na iwasan yung mga yan. So dumating man siya sa buhay mo, pwede mo siyang nagpasan. Pwede mo lagpasan so that Pwede mo siyang lagpasan when you are thinking of your future. So iisipin mo lang yun, then uh, uh, yung mind mo is nakaset sa magiging future mo. So sa gusto mong marating in the future. Kasi nga, yan pagtitake ng alak, kasi the others are using that as a stress reliever. Ginagamit na as a stress reliever. If when they do have problems, they drink. But I don't think when they drink, uh, the problems will disappear. So the problems will still there. Pagkagising mo in the morning, yung mga problema mo na na gusto mong maalis sa buhay mo, nandiyan pa rin kahit uminom ka. Diba? So nakuha mo lang is dinagdagan mo lang yung uh, alcohol sa katawan mo o yung alak sa katawan mo na makakasira dun sa atay mo na in the future. Maaring sa ngayon hindi mo pa mararamdaman yun if you are already taking it. But in the future, so ayun nga sinasabi natin, di ba? In the future. So ano kaya mangyayari, di ba? So if you want to live longer, so avoid uh, uh, those vices that I've mentioned. Una is yung yosi, taking cigarettes, and this time, yung taking drinking liquor, yung tinatawag nating alak. So ayan naman, ayan yung message ng steps natin na tinatawag nating alak. So paano nga ba tayo nagtatransform ng quadratic function, ng general form ng quadratic function to the vertex form? So una, A stands for apply completing the square. So unang pwede natin gawin is that we can apply completing the square. So going back on our lesson about solving quadratic equation, so we do have there a lesson na a method wherein we can make use of completing the square. So we're just going to recall it for us to transform the general form of the quadratic function into the vertex form. Then L stands for let's isolate and simplify equation until it became vertex form. So pag in-apply mo yung completing the square, isolate mo lang yung given equation, then simplify it until it became vertex form. So two steps pa lang, you are already transformed it. You have already transformed the given general form to the vertex form. That is by using completing the square. But sabi dito, another A stands for, and if you find it difficult or confusing, so ibig sabihin, there is another way. So, the other way is, A stands for, kindly look for H and K, then substitute to the vertex form. Kasi if you're going to look at the vertex form, meron tayo dong H and K. So, ang kailangan lang natin is to find out for the H and K, then ipalit natin, substitute natin yon on this form of the equation. Then we are already on the vertex form of it. So, alam na natin na naka-vertex form agad tayo because we already find out for the vertex of it. So, paano natin makukuha yung vertex? So, alamin natin kung paano ba makuha yung H and K na sinasabi natin dito. So again, these steps is telling us that there are two ways for us to transform general form of the quadratic function to vertex form. The first one is with the use of completing the square. The second one is by using the H and K to transform it into vertex form. So paano natin gagawin? So since H and K is the another way for us to transform general form of the quadratic function to vertex form, so alamin muna natin kung paano natin makuha yung H and K. So let's say we do have a given equation of the quadratic function written in general form. So let's make use of completing the square. So pag ginamit natin completing the square, of course, yung constant term, di ba dapat yung first two terms lang kailangan natin. So, i-group natin yung first two terms. So, we'll come up with this. So, we are going to group the first two terms, the quadratic term and the linear term. Then, that first two terms na yan, we are going to make it quadratic, a perfect square trinomial. Ayun yung clue natin sa continuous square. We're going to make it perfect square trinomial using yung formula na i-add natin on both sides of the equation doon. Di ba? Meron tayong formula doon na ginamit na negative b over 2a. So we are also going to make use of negative b over 2a then. There. So, but before we do that, of course, when you are using completing the square, your numerical coefficient of the quadratic term must be equal to 1. So since it's a, so kailangan ilabas muna natin yung a. So we have to bring that out, then divide natin each terms of this by a. So we have a x squared divided by a, we come up with x squared plus bx divide over a, so we come up with bx over a, then plus c. So now, etong binomial na to, gagawin na natin siya ngayon, perfect square trinomial using negative b over 2a, or b over 2 rather, b over 2 quantity squares, not negative b over 2a. Again, it's b over 2 quantity squares. So using that, makakuha tayo ng term to be added on both sides of it. So yung b squared over 4a squared. Paano nangyari ngayon? B over 2 quantity squared. Ang b mo ay b over a. So when you substitute it on b over 2, magiging b over 2a. A quantity squared. B squared is b squared. Ay b times b is b squared. Then 2a quantity squared is 4a squared. So that's what we are going to add to make this a perfect square trinomial. So when you add here, you will subtract on the other side. Magsasubtract ka naman ngayon dito. Because di ba sabi natin when we discuss it on solving quadratic equation, we added same number on both sides of the equation. But in the case of this, they are on the same side of the equation. So, pag nag-add tayo dito, we are going to subtract dun sa kabila. Kasi kung nasa kabilang side siya, we are going to add. So, since yung constant term ay nasa same side, so we are going to subtract it, yung opposite side. Kasi kung ililipat natin siya, magiging minus. Then, whatever the numerical coefficient of the given quadratic term, imumultiply natin yon. Then, no problem if your numerical coefficient is already 1. Because even if we don't multiply 1 here, nothing happens. But if it became 2, pataas or pababa, so importante na yung product importante na yung numerical coefficient na yun, na i-multiply natin siya when we already got the number to be subtracted on the constant term. Then from there, simplify natin. So this trinomial is already a perfect square trinomial. So we can already factor that. So the factor of it are two identical binomials. So pag pinactor natin yon, makakuha tayo ng quadratic ng binomial that was traced to the second power. So, but before we do that, syempre, as you can see here, since multiply natin by a, so maka-cancel ngayon yung a na isa dito. So may matitira pa tayong isang a dito para since isang a lang naman na-cancel natin. So para ma-eliminate na natin to. So ito ngayon ang matitira. So from there, magiging ganito. Sinabi nga natin that this trinomial is already a perfect square trinomial. So ang factors niyan are two identical binomials. Simply get the square root of the first term and the last term, then look at the operation of the middle. So it will be x plus b over 2 quantity squared. And still, yung a is there. So you're just going to copy it. Then plus, since we are here subtracting a term to a fraction, so we need the LCD. So since ang natira lang sa denominator ay 4a, So 4A ang LCD, then multiply 4A times C, we come up with 4AC minus copy B squared. Because 4A divided by 4A is 1 times B squared, that would be B squared. So that B over 2A and 4AC minus B squared all over 4A, eh yan yung pwede natin gamitin for us to find out for H and K. So una, that B over 2A, its opposite sign is the value of H. Again, that B over 2A, the opposite sign of it will be the value of H. While that same sign of the that expression, if we're going to simplify it using values, so we are going to come up with the value of K. Again, when it comes to H, we can make use of the formula B over 2A or the expression B over 2A, while for finding K, we can make use of 4AC minus B squared all over 4A. So now, let's apply it through examples. So para mas maintindihan natin. So again, yan yung tinatawag natin as the vertex form. Now, in order for us to find H, ang kailangan natin is negative B over 2A. So, we need negative B over 2A. Sabi natin, the opposite sign of H. So, the opposite sign of it, that's negative B, kasi B over 2A yung kanina, di ba? Opposite sign nun. It should be negative B over 2A, pagkuha ng H. Then for K, we need 4AC minus B squared all over 4A. Since dalawa yung methods natin or ways natin to transform general form of the quadratic function to vertex form, we are going to do both for us to prove na even if we made use any of the two ways to do that, so we'll still come up with the same answer. So let's have example number 1 here. Then example number 1, the given is y is equal to 2x squared plus 8x plus 6. So just like what we did, unahin natin yung solving it using completing the square. So in completing the square, you have first to group the first two terms of the quadratic function, yung quadratic term and the linear term. Group natin siya. So since may two numerical coefficient of the quadratic term, when using completing the square, dapat ang numerical coefficient na doon ay 1. So we have to remove 1 there. I remove 2 there. So we are going to bring out 2 there, then divide it on both terms of it. So because their common factor is 2. So we will bring out 2. What will happen is that when you divide 2x squared by 2, the quotient is x squared, plus when you divide 8x by 2, the quotient is 4x. You simply copy plus 6. Then, from here, we are going to make this binomial here a perfect square trinomial by adding a certain number to it. So we are going to make use of b over 2 quantity squared. So the value of b natin is 4. So the value of b is 4. So 4 divided by 2, that would be 2. Then square of it, that would be 4. So that means we are going to add 4 on both sides of the equation. So since the constant term is on the same side, when we added 4 here, we are going to subtract 4 dun sa constant term, yung nasa labas niya. So we added 4. So by adding it by 4, we make this a perfect square trinomial. Then, plus 6 minus 4 naman dito sa nasa labas. Then multiply it by 2 because of this. Kasi sabi nga natin, di ba, whatever you do on one side, you will also do that on the other side. So, nag-multiply ka ng 2 dito, multiply ka rin ng 2 doon. Para, since equation yan, so we are making them equal. So, parehas lang yung ginawa natin. So, yun nga lang, ginawa natin siya sa bandang hulihan na. So, since meron tayong 2 na numerical coefficient dito, so we have to multiply 2 also at the end. So, we'll start at 2, we'll end at 2. Then, this is already a perfect square trinomial. We know that the factors of it are square of binomial. Then, when you simplify this, diretso mo na simplify, will end up 2. Y is equal to 2, you simply copy it. Then x plus 2, square root of x squared, that would be x, square root of 4 is 2. Operation ng middle is plus, then quantity squared. Then 4 times 2 is 8. So meron pa ngayon 6 minus 8. And 6 minus 8 is negative 2. So we'll have that as the vertex form of the quadratic function. So that would be y is equal to 2 times the quantity x plus 2 squared minus 2. That is by using completing the square. Now, this time, let's make use of the other method, which is using HK for us to find out or to transform that general form of the quadratic function to the vertex form. Let's find out if we'll still come up with the same answer. So let's have this. Using HK this time, so we know that the formula for finding H is negative B over 2A, while 4K is 4AC minus B squared all over 4A. So using the same given quadratic function, so para magamit mo yung formula for H and K, so you have to find out first the values of A, B, and C. So A is 2, B is 8, C is 6. So using the formula for finding H, so just simply substitute. The value of 8 is the value of B is 8. So negative of 8, it should be negative 8 over 2 times the value of A, which is 2. Then simplify this, negative 8 over 4, and negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. That's the value of H now. Then for K, using 4AC minus B squared all over 4A, let's start substituting. Pag substitute natin yan, 4 times 2, that's the value of A, times 6, which is the value of C, minus 8 squared, all over 4 times 2. Then simplifying it, we do have 4 times 2, that's 8 times 6, that would be 48, minus 8 squared is 64. All over 4 times 2 is 8. So magkakaroon tayo ng 48 minus 64 all over 8. Then simplifying it, we do have 48 minus 64, it will be equal to negative 16. And negative 16 divided by 8 is equal to negative 2. So therefore, we can find the vertex or the H as negative 2 and K is negative 2. So we come up with the vertex as negative 2, negative 2. H is negative 2 while K is negative 2. Then substitute it to the vertex form. Alam natin yung vertex form ay y is equal to a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k. So, substituting it, magkakaroon tayo ng y is equal to 2. So, since you have to know that since a yon, so you have to just simply copy the value of a, then quantity of x, opposite sign of h. Diba sabi natin doon kanina when we got it, the formula, it's the opposite sign of h. So, since negative 2 yung h natin, so the opposite sign of it is positive 2. So that's why plus 2 yun dito. Then quantity squared, then same sign of k, which is minus 2. So ang vertex form natin ay y is equal to 2 times the quantity x plus the quantity squared minus 2. Ibig sabihin, kapag plus dito, ang ibig sabihin, ang h niya ay negative. Kapag minus dito, ang h niya ay positive. But when it comes to k, nothing happens to its signs because same sign lang ng k yung nilalagay natin dito. So, ang h ito ang naman yung k natin. So, when we write it, substitute lang natin yon, we come up with this vertex form. So, kahit na ginawa natin yon, ginamit natin yung vertex form the quadratic, ginamit natin yung another way to transform general form the quadratic function to vertex form, still we come up with the same answer. So, ganun din yung nakuha natin sagot. So, ang purpose lang, kaya natin binigay yung dalawang way of doing it is for us to choose which way out of the two ways yung mas madali na gamitin natin. So, depending on you kung saan kayo mas nadadalian, kung anong way yung gagamitin mo. So, you do have the two ways, the completing the square and the using the HK. So, that's how we answer example number 1. Now, let's try another example. Let's have here example number 2. So, again, we'll do it on both ways. So, una, the given equation is y is equal to x squared plus 6x plus 8. So using computing the square, i-group ko yung first two terms, quadratic and the linear term. Then, I'm going to make use of b over 2 quantity squared. So the b is 6 divided by 2 is 3, and squared of 3 is 9. So that means I'm going to add 9 on this to make it a perfect square trinomial. When I add 9 here, I will subtract 9 on 8. Doon nasa labas niya. So magiging ganito. X squared plus 6x plus 9 plus 8 minus 9 times 1. Because the value of A here is 1. So even if 1 is not there, pwede na yon kahit hindi na natin ilagay yung 1 doon. Pinapakita lang natin doon na uh, when we are already find out the number to be added and to be subtracted on the constant term, we are going to multiply it by the value of A. So from there, we can factor this quadratic perfect square trinomial here. So we come up with y is equal, just copy y is equal to square root of x squared is x, square root of 9 is 3, then quantity squared, then plus 8 minus 9. Simplify lang yung 9 times 1. Then simplify 8 minus 9, we'll come up with the vertex form as y is equal to x plus 3 quantity squared minus 1. So alam natin na ang vertex niya ay, since positive to, negative yung 3, negative 1. So negative 3, negative 1. Dapat, ayun yung makuha nating h and k respectively when we solve for the value of h and k when using hk as a way for us to transform quadratic function, equation of the quadratic function, general form of the quadratic function rather, to the vertex form. So now, let's use hk. So same given equation. Siyempre, you have to find out first the value of A, B, and C. A is 1, B is 6, and C is 8. So using HK, for H, negative B over 2A. It should be negative 6. Yung value ng B is 6, negative nun, over 2 times 1. Then simplify it. We have negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So alam na natin, negative 3. Tama na tayo. Then for K, substituting it, we do have 4 times 1, the value of A times 8, the value of C, minus 6 squared. All over 4 times 1. Then simplifying it, 4 times 1 is 4 times 8 is 32 minus 36 all over 4. Then 32 minus 36 is negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. Di ba sinabi natin kanina, kinuha natin yung vertex niya, nalaman natin na it's negative 3, negative 1. So, nakuha natin, negative 3 yung h, negative 1 yung k. So, when we come up with the vertex of it, that will be negative 3, negative 1, so that when we substitute it to the vertex form, it will be the same as y is equal to x plus 3 quantity squared minus 1. So, nakuha pa rin natin yung vertex form of the quadratic, general form of the quadratic, the vertex form of the given general form of the quadratic function, even if we made use of HK as a method. So, nasa sa inyo na yon which method or which way you think is the easiest way for you to transform general form of the quadratic function to the vertex form. Let's try another example. So this time, we are going to make use one method na lang. So, sa akin, sa tingin ko, na method na I think is the best method that I can use. So, for number 3, the given is y is equal to 2x squared minus 6x plus 4. So, I will make use of hk as the method. That means I'm going to find out for the value of a, b, and c. A is 2, b is negative 6, while c is 4. Then, solving it using hk, so for the value of h, so using the formula or the expression negative b over 2a, substitute, we do have negative b and negative 6 yun, opposite sign on, substitute be 6, then 2 times 2, that's the value of a, then we'll come up with 6 over 4, which is equal to 3 over 2 in simplest form. So that 3 over 2 is the value of h already. It's already acceptable as an answer even though it's written in proper form as long as it's already the simplest form of it. Then, using the formula for finding k, substitute 4 times 2 times 4, the value of c, minus negative 6 squared all over 4 times 2. Simplifying it, kakaroon tayo ng 4 times 2 is 16 4 times 2 is 8 times 4 is 32. Minus negative 6 squared is 36 all over 8. Then 32 minus 36 is negative 4 all over 8. Then simplifying it or reducing it into lowest term will come up with negative 1 half. So that will come up with the vertex as 3 over 2 negative 1 half. Since we already have the vertex or the value of h and k, we can now substitute it to the vertex form. Magiging ganito, y is equal to 2. Bakit may 2 dito sa unahan? Because ang numerical coefficient ng quadratic term natin is 2. Times the quantity x, since positive yung h natin, opposite sign niya. Positive, it should be minus 3 over 2 quantity squared minus 1 half, same sign of the value of k. Opposite sign ng h, kaya minus 3 over 2 dito, then same sign ng k, kaya minus 1 half. So don't forget to write yung square doon because we are getting the square of x minus h. So when we substitute it, do not forget this square here and also the numerical coefficient here, which is the numerical coefficient of the quadratic term in the given general form of the quadratic function. So that's how we solve example number 2. So that's how we transform example, the general form of the quadratic function in example number 2, its vertex form. Now let's try another example. So in example number 4, we do have y is equal to 3x squared minus 6x plus 3. Again, I will make use of vertex for or the hk using hk. So I have to find out for the value of a, b, and c. A is 3, b is negative 6, while c is 3. Using to solve for h and k. So for a, negative b over 2a, substituting it, positive 6 pa rin tayo over 2 times 3. Then we come up with 6 over 6, which is equal to 1. Then for k, we have 4 times 3, which is c, minus negative 6 squared, all over 4 times 3. So 4 times 3 is 12, times 3 is 36. So magkakaroon tayo ng 36 minus 36 divided by 12. So it will be equal to 0 over 12. So it should be 0 over 12. Typographical error lang yan. It should be 0 over 12. Or 0 divided by any number, it will be equal to 0. So even though nagkaroon tayong typographical error dito, so since ang numerator ay 0, so 0 divided by any number is equal to 0. But it should be 12 ba? Dapat 12 yon. So it is equal to 0. So from there, we come up with the value of hk as 1, 0. So using that hk, we are now going to substitute it to the vertex form so that we'll come up with y is equal to 3. Numerical coefficient ng quadratic term times the quantity x, opposite sign ng h, minus 1, then square it. Then since your k is 0, you don't have to write 0 anymore. So hindi na natin kailangan isulat pa yung 0. Ibig sabihin lang yan, since 0 yung k, so we will just come up with this vertex form of that given general form of the quadratic function. So naintindihan ba example number 4? So let's try another example. Let's have here example number 5. So for example number 5, the given is y is equal to x squared plus 3x minus 4. So using hk, a is 1, b is 3, c is negative 4. So solve for h, substitute natin, come up with negative 3 as a value of b. Since negative b yun, b is 3, so negative of 8 over 2 times 1. Then, simplifying it, we have negative 3 over 2 is equal to negative 3 over 2 pa rin. Same pa rin because we cannot anymore simplify it because it's already simplified form. So it will be negative 3 over 2. While for k, so substituting the values, we do have 4 times 1 times negative 4 minus 3 squared all over 4 times 1. So 4 times 1 is 4 times negative 4 is negative 16 minus 3 squared is 9. So meron tayo negative 16 minus 9 all over 4. Then, negative 16 minus 9 is negative 25 over 4. Negative 25 over 4, since 25 is not exactly divisible by 4, even though it is written in improper form, it's already uh, the answer to the value of k. So we can already accept that as an answer. So the value of k is negative 25 over 4. So that will come up now with the value of hk or the vertex as negative 3 over 2, negative 25 over 4. Nakasulat siya in unordered pair form. Nasa loob ng parentheses, separated by comma. Then from there, substitute to the vertex form. So meron tayong y is equal to, so wala tayo dito because it's 1. So pag 1 yun, wala tayong problema. So the quantity of x, since negative yung 3 over 2 natin, so it's the opposite sign here. That's plus 3 over 2 quantity squared, then same sign ng negative 25 over 4, kaya minus 25 over 4 yung magiging sagot natin doon. So we transform the equation y is equal to x squared plus 3x minus 4 to the vertex form as y is equal to x plus 3 over 2 quantity squared minus 25 over 4. That's how we answer example number 5. So let's have another example. Let's have here example number 6. So for example number 6, the given is negative 3x squared plus 2x minus 1. So ito, in quadratic function, it's not anymore important. It's important rather na na kahit negative yung a mo. Hindi katulad sa quadratic equation na sinolve natin na dapat yung a natin is positive. In quadratic function, it doesn't matter whether your a is positive or negative, it doesn't matter. Still acceptable siya, considered pa rin siya as quadratic function. So ganun pa rin yun. So importante na yung negative na value ng a when we are on quadratic function. Ganun pa rin naman sa quadratic equation. Pwede rin naman yun, kaya lang mas madali nga lang natin masosolve when your a is positive. So dito, it doesn't matter whether your a is positive or negative, importante sila pareho when we are in quadratic function. So using hk pa rin, a is negative 3, b is 2, while c is negative 1. Solve for h, we do have h is equal to negative b over 2a, so we'll come up with b is 2, so negative 2 over 2 times negative 3. So we'll come up with negative 2 over negative 6, which is equal to 1/3 in simplified form. While for k, substituting it, we do have 4 times negative 3 as a times negative 1 as c minus 2 squared all over 4 times negative 3. Simplifying it, 4 times negative 3 is 12 times negative 12 times negative 1 is 12. Minus 2 squared is 4 all over negative 12. Equal to 12 minus 4 is 8 all over negative 12. Simplifying it, both 8 and 12 are divisible by 4. So when you simplify it, you have to put already the negative sign on the numerator part because in the same way that even if we divide the 2, we come up with a negative answer. So the simplified form of it is negative 2/3. So that we come up with the vertex as 1/3 negative 2/3. H is 1/3, K is negative 2/3. And substituting it to the vertex form, we'll come up with y is equal to negative 3. Ayun, meron siya ngayon dito numerical coefficient because your value of a is negative 3. Substitute lang naman natin eh. Since alam natin yung vertex form of the quadratic function, alam natin yung value ng a, so we have to put it here. Then, times x minus 1/3. Minus, it's because that's the opposite sign of the value of h. So, since positive yon, so minus 1/3 tayo dito, then quantity squared. Then, same sign of the k, we do have minus 2/3. So that when we transform y is equal to negative 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 in vertex form, it will be equal to y is equal to negative 3 times x minus 1/3 quantity squared minus 2/3. So that's how we answer example number 6. So I hope that you learned something today. So see you next time. Goodbye.